All right, so you guys just completed the do now in Google Classroom. I want to get started with, I'll just chat about our agenda and then we'll get started. So first, we're going to discuss identity in the text, particularly from Milkman, and kind of how that changes over time. And then to set us up, just like we did yesterday for writing paragraphs tomorrow, about his identity and really how his identity contrasts other people's identity. And that's really your focus for tomorrow. Once we finish discussing that, I have a few excerpts from my book about the book. And then I have a question that's posting in about 5 minutes on Google Classroom, same as 2 days ago. We're going to kind of comment on that, treat it as a discussion in Google Classroom, looking through what other people are saying, adding on, creating new ideas, things like that. Then at the end of our time together, in about 20 minutes, maybe more, I need, some of you are missing several AP Classroom. Some of you, there's a few, maybe one or two of you that are completely good to go, didn't miss any of the days. But what I'm going to have you do for the last 40 minutes is go into AP Classroom, check to see if you're missing a progress check in AP Classroom. If you're not, there's like 1, 2, maybe 3 of you max that have all of them done. Everyone else needs to complete one of the ones that they're missing. Okay, so that we can clearly see the progress that we're making in AP Classroom. Any questions about the agenda before we jump right in? I will take your silence as a no questions. Okay, so we're going to start talking about identity in the text. So if anyone wants to jump on either typing, you can turn your audio on if you're not comfortable with your audio, or if you cannot turn your audio on, then you can type in things. But let's start chatting about identity in the text, particularly from Milkman, and how it's different from others around him. Don't all speak up at once.
Well, Milkman didn't really have an identity. His whole identity was like built upon how other people saw him and used him. So then that's why he had to leave everything behind to really find who he was.
Do you think that he gets an identity by the end?
Yes.
Okay. What are some other thoughts we have? Look at the way I'm grasping this mug like a beast. Other thoughts? Who does his identity mirror in terms of like what other character is he very similar to in terms of identity at the beginning?
Yeah, I was gonna say at the very beginning, he shares the same like desire for money and like egotistical and almost, I guess, sexist perspective as his father.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's closely tied for the fact that they were so close, or I guess close. Yeah, they were pretty close since they were working together a lot. They spent a lot of time together with the business. So I think he just grew up thinking that was natural because he saw how much everyone respected his dad. And I don't know. I don't think Milkman ever went for that sort of respect. He wanted to feel included. So I don't know. Maybe that gave him a sense of inclusion, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know.
And I think as he goes, he starts shedding away some of those like monetary and sexist beliefs, especially when he gets to when he travels and gets to Shalimar and he's figuring all these things out and getting included in that society. Marwa says, I think Milkman's identity is different from others because in the end, or in the beginning, he was kind of trapped, so he couldn't really be himself. It wasn't until after he was on his own that he was able to discover himself. I agree. Any other thoughts from you guys? What is Pilate's identity? How is her identity different than Milkman's, or similar? How is her identity different than Macon? What do we think? I know we think something. Pilate's identity. She has an identity. Is it similar, different, to whom? Anaya, we must persevere. I can read you guys some of an excerpt and then we can go from there. I'm going to try to find this chapter online because it is, there's lots of other, oh, Nelsie jumped in. Okay, let's see. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of going quickly for those of you that are chatting. I think it is similar to Milkman in that she had to find her own identity and kind of focus on herself, like Milkman, who had to shed his past identity. I think so too. And I think when we think about Pilate as the leader of a household, that's predominantly female, and Macon as the leader of a house that's predominantly female, and like that's where we can really see the difference in their identities and how they treat and value money, women, power, things like that. And then where does Milkman kind of fall in between these two? I think he shifts, right? We talked about how he has an identity similar to Macon's, and then that kind of goes away. Is that similar to Pilate's, or does he kind of carve his own path? It's something for you to just think about on your own. But I will read an excerpt for you from this text. I'm going to skip over. The thing I like about this chapter is that it talks about the chapter is called the quest for and discovery of identity. But it talks about Milkman, and then it shifts and talks about like Macon. It talks about Ruth. It talks about Pilate. For the sake of time, I'm just going to read the stuff about Milkman. But I want you to be thinking about, as I'm reading, how are these things that I'm reading about Milkman similar or different? Similar to or different than the people around him, Pilate, Ruth, Macon, things like that. So again, from the chapter, The Quest for and Discovery of Identity. And this will help you for your response, your discussion. So if you want to multitask, you might take notes in AP Classroom. If you don't want to look at my face while I'm reading, whatever you want to do, or take notes on your phone. This is being recorded as well. Song of Solomon centers on Milkman Dead's unwitting search for identity. Milkman appears to be doomed to a life of alienation from himself and from others because, like his parents, he adheres to excessively rigid, materialistic Western values and an attendant linear conception of time. During a trip to his ancestral home, however, Milkman discovers his capacity for emotional expansiveness and learns to perceive the passage of time as a cyclical process. When he incorporates both his familial and his personal history into his sense of the present, he repairs his feelings of fragmentation and comprehends for the first time the coherence of his own life. Then it talks about Macon being a self-made man, Macon being sexist, things like that. If you have any thoughts that you want to share while I'm reading, just type them in the chat. I can see them as I'm reading. So before Milkman leaves Michigan, he perceives the world in much the same way that his father does. His steadiness of vision and lack of compassion allow him to abuse remorselessly and unself-consciously the people around him. For instance, his letter to Hagar reveals his inability to understand her feelings and psychology despite their years of intimacy. He fails to accept responsibility for ending their relationship. Instead, he writes little more than a business letter suggesting that he leave her for her own best interest. Moreover, his sister Lena tells him that he has urinated on the women in his family. That is, he has demanded their service and shown them no consideration. He has presumed to know what is best for them without knowing them at all. Milkman's search for gold indicates further the similarity between his father's vision of the world and his own. He thinks that leaving his hometown, his past, and his responsibilities will guarantee him a sense of his own identity. As he becomes increasingly implicated in the scheme to retrieve Pilate's gold, Milkman acquires a clearer but equally false sense of what freedom means. He believes that gold will provide him with a clean-lined, definite self, the first sense of identity he has ever known. Any thoughts so far that would you like to share with the class? If we were in class together, we'd be like reading, I'd be photocopying. It'd be so fun because we can really dive in. This is like amazing stuff. Anyway, oh, I missed the Elmo too. I was gonna bring the Elmo home, and I thought about it, and I meant to, because I could still do it, like right here. I just wouldn't project it. You would still see it on my screen, but it's probably better for you because then you'd have to I was gonna print stuff and give it to you. Okay, I know we're tired, but follow along because this is really, really good stuff for your response today, and this will help tomorrow. We're talking about contrasts, and you could focus on contrast and identity. Milkman's assumption that the key to his liberation may be found in Danville and Shalimar is correct, although it is not gold that will free him. In his ancestors' world, communal and mythical values prevail over individualism and materialism. When he adopts their assumptions in place of his own, he arrives at a more complete understanding of what his experience means. So basically what we were saying, he starts off one way, he leaves in search of gold, but really the things that he finds there are not gold, and they change his identity for the better, or not change, but help him identify his identity. When Milkman arrives in the South, he wears a beige three-piece suit, button-down light blue shirt, and black string tie, and beautiful Florsham shoes. He ruins and loses various articles of clothing and jewelry as he looks first for the gold and then for the story of his people. Indeed, just before the epiphanic moment in the forest, he has changed from his cosmopolitan attire to overalls and brogans. Similarly, the people that he meets in Shalimar force him to throw off his pretenses before they offer him the help and the information he needs. Only when he ceases to flaunt his wealth and refer to their women casually do they admit him into their community. Until he sheds the leaden trappings of materialism, Milkman is like the peacock that he and Guitar see, too weighted down by his vanity to fly. So we talked about how his father was sexist and really based in wealth, and the people in Shalimar force him to readdress those things, not speak to the women casually, but with respect and things like that. I'll read this because it has a nice excerpt, and I'll give you the page numbers if you want to refer to it. While in Michigan, Milkman believes that when he finally achieves his freedom, he will no longer need to submit to the claims of others. In the woods, away from the destructive effects of civilization, he realizes that human connection, horizontal vision, is an inescapable part of life. This is on page 279 and 280, this quote, to block quote. It sounded old, deserve, old and tired and beaten to death, deserve. Now it seemed to him that he was always saying or thinking that he didn't deserve some bad luck or some bad treatment from others. He told Guitar that he didn't deserve his family's dependence, hatred, or whatever, that he didn't deserve to hear all the misery and mutual accusations his parents unloaded on him, nor did he deserve Hagar's vengeance. But why shouldn't his parents tell him their personal problems? If not him, then who? End quote, page 279, 280. While previously he had dehumanized his friends and relations, he now empathizes with his parents and feels shame for having robbed Pilate. This is on 304. The skin of shame that he had rinsed away in the bathwater after having stolen from Pilate returned. But now it was as thick and tight as a caul. He could have broken into that house. How could he have broken into that house, the only one he knew that achieved comfort without an article of comfort in it? Now no soft worn down chair, not a cushion or a pillow, but peace was there, energy, singing, and now his own remembrances. Okay, just a few more paragraphs, and then I'm gonna have you share any thoughts, and then go to Google Classroom. In keeping with this new awareness of others and of his personal past, Milkman, insensitive to Hagar and unwilling to accept responsibility for her in life, understands her posthumously and assumes the burden of her death. Posthumously meaning after death. He acknowledges the inappropriateness of his letter to her and realizes that he had used her. Moreover, he knows without being told that she has died and he is to blame. As Pilate has carried with her the bones of the man she believed she has murdered, So too does Milkman resolve to carry with him the box of Hagar's hair, a symbol of his newly acquired cyclical vision of the past. He no longer needs to escape. Milkman Sr., Milkman's grandfather, was an American Adam, a farmer who loved the land and worked it profitably. Moving north cost Macon Jr. some of the talent he had inherited from his father. Still able to manipulate cold cash, he had lost his father's organic connection to the soil. In the South, Milkman too seems disconnected from nature. Graceful in the civilized world, he is clumsy and obtuse when he enters the wilderness. However, he becomes increasingly attuned to nature's rhythms. It's in Google Classroom. It should be posted there, Marwa. It's just reflecting on identity. Let me see if it's there. Yeah, it's in there. So it says much of Morrison's work deals with the search for identity, and particularly how slavery degrades self-identity, strips it from the soul. You might talk about the importance of identity and how family history plays a role in defining the self. What does it mean to be without family history or self-knowledge? Okay. So, however, he becomes increasingly attuned to nature's rhythms as he grows in self-awareness. During the bobcat hunt, he senses through the contact between his fingertips and the ground beneath him that someone is about to make an attempt on his life, and he returns to town. Milkman feels as if he is part of the rock and soil and discovers that he no longer limps. He no longer limps. Finally, however, Milkman's discovery of his identity lies not so much in his connection with the earth or in his ability to understand his own past. These accomplishments only attend his greater achievement, learning to complete, to understand, and to sing his family song. So in what ways does that family song reveal to him his identity? Milkman comes to know fully who he is when he can supply the lyrics to the song Pele has only partially known. Throughout his life, Milkman has had an inexplicable fascination with flight. Robert Smith's abortive attempt to fly from the hospital roof precipitated his birth. Riding backward makes him feel uncomfortable because it reminds him of flying blind and not knowing where he is going, and when he's in the car with his family as a kid. And as he approaches Circe's house, he recalls his recurring childhood fantasy of being able to take flight. When Milkman knows the entire song, however, and can sing it to Pele as she has sung it to others, he can assume his destiny. Flight is no longer a fancy that haunts him, appearing unsummoned in his consciousness. He now understands it, flight, as a significant action from his ancestral past. Indeed, the ultimate sign of his achievement of identity is his ability to take flight in the way his grandfather did. In the process of assuming himself, Milkman discovers that his dreams have become attainable. Milkman acquires a sense of identity when he immerses himself in his extended past. He comes full circle from the individualism his father represents and advocates. Assuming identity is thus a communal gesture in this novel, as indeed Morrison suggests in her two earlier novels. And then the rest is just more summary that I would like you to do instead of the book. What are your thoughts here about this? Do you agree? Do you disagree on this information? And then any final thoughts? And then I'll repose the discussion question.
I like it.
What do you like about it, Seth?
I don't know, the way they break it down, the way they connect like all the inner pieces together, and how they further talk about the symbols and stuff.
Yeah.
Like mention the song and all that stuff. I'm like, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I think when you actually then when you go back and read it again, so a lot of the chapters that especially when we were reading together, I'd already read that first. And then when we go back and read it, then you pick up on how he is thinking about flight throughout the text. Whereas the first time you're reading it, you're more focused on plot. So in an ideal world, it would have been something that we have reread a second time. Why couldn't we read the book about the book instead of the actual book? Because the actual book is phenomenal. Any other thoughts about identity in the text? Okay, so if you have no other thoughts, your task for the day, for the next hour, 40 minutes, sorry, I need you to respond to, I'll read your thing in a minute, Marwa. I need you to respond to the discussion in Google Classroom about identity. Whatever your thoughts are, you can use the questions in there as a guide. You can use some of the stuff I just read as a guide. Then I need you to go into AP Classroom and see if you have any missing progress checks. 95% of you have missing ones, and complete one of those today. So I am going to check to see that those of you that are missing some have completed one, because I have a whole list. If you want to text me or message in here, I can tell you which ones you missed. That does take 40 minutes. So if you have class coming up at 9:20, maybe you do that right now, and then you do the discussion question later. But are there any questions for me? Marwa said, I agree with the author because Milkman became more responsible as his character evolved, like the author said. Any questions? You can stay. You can ask me if you have AP Classroom stuff, or you can leave. Discussion question, missing progress checks. Yeah. Marwa, yeah. But let me see if you have anything missing, Marwa. Marwa, you're missing progress check 5. And I think that's it. Yeah, you're just missing number 5. So if you want to do that now, Marwa, then you can come back and just jot your thoughts in the discussion later. Jackie, I think you might not be missing anything. Yeah, Jackie, you're not missing any. I'll tell you who's missing them if you're in here. I'll just read them. So missing Unit 8 is Rachel, Anaya, Seth, Gary, and Gabby. Missing Unit 7 is Emily. Missing Unit 5, this is a lot. Rachel, Anaya, Nelsie, Lillian, Marwa, Seth, Gary, Emily, Gabby, and Natalie. Missing Unit 4 is Anaya, Lillian, Gary, Emily, Gabby, Natalie. Missing Unit 3, Anaya, Lillian, Kathy, Gary Ellis, Natalie. And missing Unit 2 is Gabby.
Wasn't A do yesterday?
Yes.
I did A yesterday. I almost ran out of time because I went to the bathroom. Got the timer name stopped. I did it. I remember 2 poems. It was one about the death of allegory and something else.
Okay, let me see. It says no results. Did you submit it when the time ran out?
Yeah, I submitted it before time went out, and then time went out. I pressed submit.
It literally says no results here. Oh, let me see progress. Oh, is it locked now? I have to open this. It says it says it's in progress for you. So if you log in, you should be able to go in and submit. It doesn't say you didn't start, but it says you're in progress. So just log in and check it out.
All right.
And I'm here if you have questions.
Wait, would that count as an absence because you didn't get my work yesterday?
What was our other thing from yesterday that I saw that you did?
The tone thing? I don't know. I don't like this. I'd rather be in school and not do work.
But also, you didn't do the open-ended question from yesterday.
Oh, what?
I mean, I see that you're in progress, so I can change it. But I need you to do both.
All right. Man, Corona, what?
Because then if you don't finish them, then it says that you didn't submit them. So there's a few that are locked. Actually, I need to open them right now. Unit 4. Oh, that's a free response question. Yeah, they're all unlocked now. Guys, I'm gonna mute myself, but I'm still here, as you can see, if you need anything. Okay, let me check. And I think there were days that you were out, like for maybe NJM. There was one day that a lot of people were out. That's why I had like 10. Let me pull it up. So your number 5, and it says not started for you. Number 8, which was yesterday, is not started. Number 4, not started. Number 3, you're in progress for unit 3. So you just have to go in and submit it. So go do that now.